Altman he's spent his entire career in Silicon Valley. He was at first a startup founder himself, and he was part of the first batch of companies that joined Y Combinator, today, one of the most prestigious startup accelerators in Silicon Valley. But at the time, he was the very first class, and no one really knew what YC was. He did that for 7 years. He was running a company called Looped, which was a mobile-based social media platform, effectively a Foursquare competitor, but which actually started earlier than Foursquare. It didn't do very well. It was sold off for parts. But what he did do very well during that time was ingratiate himself with very powerful networks in Silicon Valley. So one of the first and longest mentors that he ended up having throughout his career is Paul Graham, the founder of Y Combinator, who then plucked Sam Altman to be his successor. And Sam Altman then, at a very young age, became president of YC. And if you look at how he ended up then as a CEO of OpenAI, I think that he basically was trying to figure out what is going to be the next big technology wave. Let me test out all of these different things, position myself as involved in all of these different things. So in addition to all his investments, he started cultivating this idea of AI also seems like maybe it'll be big. Let me start working on an idea for a fundamental AI research lab that becomes OpenAI. And once OpenAI started being the fastest one taking off, then Altman hops over and becomes CEO. And he sees these corporate empires like OpenAI as his empire-building assets. And so I think he is probably seeing it in the same way that the British Crown saw the British East India Company of, let's just let this company acquire all these resources, do all these things, and then eventually we'll nationalize the company, and then India formally becomes a colony of the British Empire. So Trump, whatever the equivalent, modern day equivalent would be of nationalizing these companies, is his endgame. Like, he is helping them strike all these deals and installing all this American hardware and software all around the world with the hope that then those become national assets. And then, there was actually just a recent op-ed in Financial Times from Mariette Schaake, one of the former EU parliamentarians, who pointed out, isn't it so convenient for the US to get all of this American infrastructure installed everywhere around the world so that the US government could literally turn it off at any time? But the players, OpenAI, of course, they were the ones that fired the first shot with ChatGPT. Anthropic, major competitor, Google, Meta, Microsoft, they're the older internet giants that are now also racing to deploy these technologies. Safe Superintelligence, which spun out of also an OpenAI splinter. There are many OpenAI splinters of OpenAI. And Thinking Machines Lab, founded very recently by a former chief technology officer of OpenAI. And Amazon is now trying to get into the game as well. And Apple is also trying to get in the game. So basically, all of the older generation tech giants, as well as a new crop of AI players, are all jostling in this space. And so one of the things that I highlight in my book is there are many, many communities that are already, they do not have sufficient drinking water even for people. And I went to Montevideo, Uruguay, to speak with people about a historic level of drought that they were experiencing, where the Montevideo government literally did not have enough water to put into the public drinking water supply. So they were mixing toxic wastewater in just so people could have something come out of their taps when they opened them. And for people that were too poor to buy bottled water, that is what they were drinking. And women were having higher rates of miscarriages. Elderly were having an exacerbation or an inflammation of their chronic diseases. And in the middle of that, Google proposed to build a data center that would use more drinking water. And Bloomberg recently had a story that said 2/3 of the data centers now being built for AI development are in fact going into water scarce areas.